Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Harne podcast. My guest today is Shreya Gupta, who is working as a customer strategy and loyalty consultant at Bond Brand Loyalty in Toronto. Shreya started her career as a business analyst at a software development company, but later switched to the domain of marketing post her MBA. How was she able to do it? And what is her advice for people looking to make the same switch? Let's find out on this episode. Now, before we begin, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe, hit that like button, and leave us a comment down below. The episode with Shreya begins now. Okay. Hi, Shreya. Thank you so much for giving us your time and talking to us today.
Hey, Raghav.
How are
How's
you
it
doing?
going? Good. How about you? How's it going?
I'm good as well. Thank you so much. And I always start this podcast by asking the guests to introduce themselves. So if you could please do that for us.
I feel this is always the most difficult question to do. But hi, everybody who's watching this. I'm Shreya Gupta. I stay in downtown Toronto and I'm working as a strategy and loyalty consultant at a marketing agency here in downtown called Bond Brand Loyalty. And I've been with the company for about 1+ year now. And before that, I completed my MBA from Schulich School of Business.
And before that, before your Schulich?
Before Schulich, I was back in India. I was working as a business consultant for almost 5 years. So I started my professional journey as a business analyst and then made my way through to becoming a business consultant. And around the 5-year mark, I made the decision to do my MBA.
Right. And are you the, usual, or should I say the majority of the Indians who did their engineering first and then did their MBA, or do you have a different background?
I think that's the story with every Indian kid. You are either a doctor or an engineer, and after you do your engineering, that is when you decide that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done my engineering because I don't want to do this all my life.
Yeah.
But and it's the same with me. After I did my engineering, I got through Accenture as a software engineer, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And my senior from college, undergrad, he was the one who actually referred me for a business analyst position. And I was like, and that time consulting was very upcoming. So it was like this job that everybody wanted because you travel so much. And so I was like, I want to try this. Maybe I won't get through, but I just want to give it a try. And my luck was by my side. I got through. And then you know the story throughout.
So you started as a business analyst and then you were promoted to a business consultant in consulting, obviously. So what was the difference in your job responsibilities as an analyst and a consultant? Or let me be more frank with my question. What does a business analyst do? And then what does a business consultant do?
So honestly, the difference is majorly with the business analyst position. It's more of like an associate position. So you're actually in the weeds of the work. You're actually building the model. You're actually building the presentations. You might not be the one who's presenting, and you might not be the one who's leading all the client calls, but you are the one who's doing actual work. When it comes to the business consultant, you are the person who's facing the client. So you will be the one who will be sitting in all the business requirement meetings. You will be the one who will be gathering all the documents. But the analyst would be the one who's going all through the documents. Now, what the analyst does is, once you have gone through all the documents, you'll probably create an overview of what are those highlights or the insights you pull from the documents. And the consultant is the one who goes through those insights. And then the analyst is the one who will create the presentations, but the consultant and the analyst will tag team to present. So I would say it's a very balanced role where I would say the consultant is a little bit more client facing and it's a bit more high level when it comes to insights, whereas as an analyst, you are the ones who are working on the software.
All right. And you were doing this for a technology client, or what was your client like?
Yeah, so my company, we had a proprietary platform of our own. But my clients are very varied, and as it usually is with consulting. So I worked with an oil and gas company, I worked with a retailer, I worked with a medical pharma. So my clients are very varied. But the platform we used was mostly SQL. Tableau towards the very end. I think my last 1 year of my career, we started working on Tableau, and then the proprietary software that we had.
Right. That's actually very impressive. You worked in for different clients and as an analyst, which requires a lot of hard skills, plus as a consultant, which requires more soft skills. I mean, you need the hard skills plus the soft skills as well because you are facing the client then. So you had all these skills with you. Then why did you decide of pursuing an MBA at this stage then?
Honestly, I think the people who know me know that I get bored very easily. So, and I like challenge. And after the 5 year, I realized that I was just doing the same thing again and again. I was not learning anything new. And that doesn't satisfy me. That doesn't fulfill me as a person. And so I just decided that I wanted to take my career to the next level. And I didn't want to do an MS because I didn't want to get into too many technicalities. I thought I wanted to do a general MBA so that that will still keep my path open for what I want to do next. And that is why I decided to do an MBA instead of an MS.
And then the next logical question, the follow-up question to that would be MBA, then why not in India? Why pursue it from abroad?
So as a kid, I always wanted to stay abroad. I'm going to be very frank about it.
Yeah.
The outside life has always intrigued me, and my brother is also in New York. So I mean, I just wanted to stay close to him. And that's why I didn't even apply to any Indian college. I just applied all to the Canadian colleges and US colleges also, honestly. I did not go through the US colleges just because the time when we were applying, there were just so many visa issues happening. And a lot of people were being sent back home. I just didn't think it made sense to spend so much and then to be sent back to India. So I thought the logical thing to do was to apply to a Canadian college. So I was still closer to my brother, still closer to my home. My parents were relieved. But then I also was staying abroad.
All right. And to anybody who is listening and is considering the same question, whether US or Canada. So you said your brother lives in USA right now. How is the situation now? Has it improved or is it still the same?
Yeah, no, honestly, I think anybody who's applying right now, and if you are really head set that you want to apply it for a US college, I would say right now is a good time to apply for a US college. It wasn't the case 2 years back, but if you are getting into a good college, I would say always think about the ROI. Just don't think about US. Yes, I want to go. Think about where you're applying. How much are you going to be spending? How much is the average package people get based on your experience once they graduate of the college, and do that math a little bit. I would say just, I mean, don't just apply to a college just you want to live outside and you got into a college. I mean, there are a lot of things that you should be considering and you should consider. I mean, that's just the adult thing to do.
That's very well put. And because you had your brother in USA already, and it was a childhood dream to pursue an MBA from abroad. So
Yeah.
why, I mean, I understand you not going to USA because the visa situation was bad,
Yeah.
but then why come to Schulich, India, do your 1 year here and then come to Schulich, Toronto?
So, why Schulich? I'll answer that.
Yeah.
Schulich, honestly, because I knew that I wanted to get into marketing. I still did not 100% know how and where within marketing, and Schulich is known for marketing. So that was my one of the reason. My second reason was it's in Toronto. Toronto is like the hub of all the jobs here in Canada, and I didn't think it made sense for me to study in Quebec and then migrate to Toronto ultimately after 2 years. Might as well, if you want to stay in Toronto, might as well do your studies from a place that's known in Toronto. That said, of course, if you're getting an admission in McGill, Rotman, I mean, go for it. I did not. Candidly, I got into Sauder, but I didn't want to move to BC. So that was my reason for why Schulich. Why India? So I actually got through the Kiel campus, but just because of some family reasons, I wanted to stay back home for one another year. So that's why I requested to shift me to Schulich, India. And trust me, that was the best decision ever. I would not ever go back and change my decision. I mean, Raghav, you and all the lovely people I've made friends, like lifelong friends. I mean, I don't think that would have been possible if I was in the Kiel campus.
And I
No,
agree with
no
you.
hard feelings to the Kiel campus though, but I just feel that the bond is so much stronger.
That's very true. And it was especially true for our batch because
Mm,
MBA, we were the ones who got to experience in person in India. And after
yeah,
coming to Kiel, it was all virtual.
yeah.
So we could not have made the such close connections had we chosen the Kiel campus, is what I feel.
That's true. And also the just how you we used to stay, like the campus we had, it was just so enclosed. I mean, we had nothing else to do. We just had each other for 1 year. We didn't have any civilization outside. We had to take 1 hour bus back to the actual city if we had to, and that too we had to put in a permission slip for that. So I mean, we just had each other the entire time. So I mean, and that was also a very big factor into where we are, why we are right now.
Yeah, and that has been the feedback, historically. Even the professors say that the Schulich India batches are more close knit than the ones
Yeah,
on Schulich Kiel campus.
yeah,
So that is the reason, as you say, that we just have each other for company, and
yeah.
that's a that is the reason behind that. So anyway, like you said, you had an idea you wanted to go into marketing. So, and you get bored easily. So, what skills did you feel were you lacking? And you thought that MBA would help you acquire those skills.
Honestly, I don't think I was lacking any skills. I'll be honest. I mean, it was the experience I lacked. I did not have any marketing experience. I only had consulting experience. When it comes to marketing, I think it's important to understand the area, the country, the market, and I think that's really important. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do an MBA here, so that through MBA and through the 601s, the case studies, everything we do, you get an understanding of what's happening in the market, what has happened so far, how is the customer behavior. The customer behavior makes a lot of difference. How customers behave back in India and back in Asia is very different from what it is in North America. And I think that perspective was missing more than I would say skills, because I honestly feel skills are no, I mean, it's not rocket science. Everybody can learn all of it. It's really the soft skills and the experience that plays an important role.
And how did MBA help you get those skills, or not skills, perspective, as you say? That how did MBA help you do that? Did you participate in case competitions? Did you do any presentations? How did an MBA help you get that perspective?
That's a good question. A lot of things helped me. It's actually, I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. The first was the customer centricity project we did. I really found it a lot interesting, just understanding from everything from the customer perspective, because all of my experience as of now was from the business perspective. What does the business want? Where does the business want to grow? What does the business think the territories are where they are not performing well? Where are they performing well? But I never thought of anything from the other side of the counter perspective. What do the customers want? I mean, customers don't care about a company making a sale, but what is it that the customer wants to do that will encourage them, that will hence increase the sales of a company? I mean, that's the thread that I learned from customer centricity. Then me and my classmates, we participated in a couple of case competitions, CIBC case competition. Then we had an insurance company case competition. Both of them we won. So I mean that was really interesting, and that also helped me understand that there's so much to it apart from pure management consulting. That and then the 601 field study was really interesting because there you actually got to understand how do you find business opportunities, what are the questions you should be asking, how do you go from the grassroots level to the high level, the like the 6,000 feet over the view, how do you get to that? So I think there were a lot of things that combined helped me understand what was missing and what do I like, what do I don't like. It also helped me understand that.
Yeah, regarding customer centricity, what I feel is that, like, we always think from the business perspective. As you said, that business wants this and business wants that. But why does the business want that?
Yeah,
Because business are ultimately catering to the customers.
yeah,
And customer centricity helps you understand why is it that the business strategy is the way it is.
yeah. And honestly, I would say a big thing of consulting is people, like brands come to a consultant because they are the advisors, right? So as the advisor, you should be able to go beyond the surface level and really ask why something is happening, and what is happening and why is it happening. Because a client might just come and say, you know what, I need to grow my sales, and the sales aren't growing because customers are leaving us. Okay, customers are leaving you, but why are they leaving you? What is that root cause? That five why principle that we learned, I think that's really important. And a big chunk of the work we do here is running focus groups. So really understanding what is that root cause that is leading up to the issue that the company is facing.
Okay, I mean, you used a term over there which I don't understand. So could you please explain what's a focus group?
So focus group is something that we actually learned during customer centricity, where you bring in a group of like 5, 6 customers, or it can be customers, your employees, whoever, and then you have this list of questions you want to understand, the problem that you want to understand. Your revenue isn't growing. Why is your revenue not growing? What is the problem the customers are facing? Where in the customer journey is that problem that the customers are facing? Are they able to are other brands able to solve that problem that they're facing right now? How are they solving that problem? So really understanding what is that root and why are we not able to do that for the customers, and how are the other brands doing it? So that's the focus group that we run.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And I think we do that over the course of a depth interview, not
Yeah, we
asking
used to
just like
call it,
a,
yeah,
yeah, not just
used
like
to
a
call.
general survey which goes out to you in an email or an, text, but it's actually sitting with the customer for like half an hour or an hour and really understanding what is the problem over here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difference between qualitative and quantitative. I would say this is more qualitative. So you want to make sure that you have a good mix of customers. You are not just asking your best customers. That's what mostly clients want to do. They just want to focus on your best customers. But there's always so much share of wallet or buying power your lower customers also have, that you want to make sure you are capturing. So you want to have a good mix of customers when you're doing these focus groups. And you also want to make sure that you know what you want to ask. I mean, you really want to be very clear with what your objectives are before running any focus groups. Yeah, in customer
Sure.
centricity, we used to call it in-depth interviews.
Yeah, that's true. I did not take
Yeah.
that course, but I regret it. So I should have taken that course. But anyway, so my next question to you is like during MBA, you must have seen that the population is skewed towards the male gender. Yeah, there are, but Schulich India, we had 8 or 9 girls and the rest were all
Yeah,
boys.
yeah.
So how did that make you feel? And why do you think that ratio is so skewed towards men?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know why this queue is there. I just feel I know in India campus it was a little bit more skewed. I think Kiel wasn't that skewed, but I think I don't know why it is, but what I really like to do is just motivate every woman to think about themselves and feel empowered. I mean, I think sometimes taking that step into doing an MBA is where women tend to hesitate a lot. And even in my current role within the company, there are just so many initiatives the company runs to make sure that women feel heard and they feel empowered. So I think that's really important. Being in the position that we all are right now, I think we should genuinely make sure that there's genuine gender equality within our company, and we should do what's in our power. I think that's the most important thing. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, to everybody out there, if you get requests from coffee chats, please do reply to women as well. I mean, it's just not the guys you should be replying to. I mean, that's something we can do proactively, and that's something that's in our control, and we can guide them and make them feel that there is a place for everybody here. Um, but I genuinely, I don't, I mean, within my company, I don't feel, we actually have a higher majority of women in our company than men. So I think brands are doing a lot in the right direction. It's just making sure everybody's doing the same thing.
I think you make a very important point over there because I remember hearing the guest speaker at our convocation. He was the ex-CEO of Deloitte. And what he said was he went into a boardroom once and the majority were women. I think he was the only man over there. And he said the environment was so much different from what he was used to, because they all made sure that he was comfortable, and they paused to ask him questions. They paused to see what he thought. And then he reflected back on that moment, and he thought that when was the last time I did that?
Mm.
So if you are a female listening to this, as Shreya says rightly, take that initiative to get those leadership positions, because I think women, men, whatever, if you have the merit, you should take that step. We need great leaders.
Yeah, and honestly, Raghav very rightly said. I just feel that you have to advocate for yourself. I feel more often as women, we just tend to we just tend to underplay ourselves so much. We don't ask for as many salary raises as guys do. Why? I mean, we are doing the same amount of work. Some people. I mean, we even have more resilience in them. I'm not ashamed to say that. So it's just that we have to feel confident in ourselves first before blaming others. And I think we have to speak up for ourselves. Nobody's going to advocate for you if you can't advocate for yourself. Always speak up. It's not the end of the world. Make your case strongly. I mean, have good valid points, not just that you're women, so you should get a promotion. Do the work, show the numbers, show the results, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, success will find its way.
Yeah, and I
I'm a
think
very positive person.
no, that is a great thing. And, you have shown that with your experience. Like, you had no marketing experience, you had consulting experience, and you got a job in marketing now. Now, you said that during your MBA, you got that perspective, you participated in different competitions, did different projects, you got that perspective, but you still did not have the experience which is required, which employers look for. So with your MBA, how were you able to project that to the employers that, I can do this job? How are you able to do it?
Yeah, so honestly, and this is something that I learned a little bit late during my job search journey, was that as immigrants, and I'm now specifically talking to the immigrants part of this audience, we tend to not take into account our previous Indian experience when we come here. And I think that's very wrong. I think anything that we have done in India holds value, even if it's still, if you're studying in Canada and if you're trying to find jobs here. I think it's just, at the end of the day, it's just about how you're telling the story. You need to make those tangible connections between, yes, I was a business consultant, but how can I add value now as a strategy consultant, as a loyalty consultant? What are the skills that you can, what are the transferable skills that I bring to the table? Do not discount the work, the hard work you have done back in India. Learn how to build stories, learn how to tell your own stories, and learn how to um, tell what the brand Shreya or what the brand Raghav stands for. I think that's really important. And I tell this to everybody I have coffee chats with. Before even you start your coffee chat journey, sit sit down, sit for 2 3 hours, and try to write down what your journey is so far. What is so unique about you? What makes you you? I think more or less, if that comes out very strongly, I don't think finding jobs should be that difficult, as difficult we make it to be.
Yeah, that's so true. Because, like this, I think, I don't remember who said it, but it was like, in a world trying to be everyone else, be
Be
you,
you.
because everyone
Yeah.
else is taken.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you have
So,
to be original. I would say, I mean, you can always be inspired by other people, and always you should be motivated and inspired by other people, but don't try to copy other people. There's so much uniqueness to yourself. There's so much you bring to the table. Just don't discount it just because you moved from India or you moved from some other country to Canada. I think people still value that here. Yes, MBA helps. It definitely helps. I think if I would have just come as a PR trying for a job, it would have been much more difficult. But at the end of the day, I did use my previous experience. I did not discount it. 5 years of experience, I used it in building my case for my current company.
yeah. With that being said, can you tell us the story of how you got your current job as a strategy and brand loyalty consultant?
Yeah. So honestly,
With
for
the, I
me,
mean, with the highlight being with no previous experience in that. Yeah.
yeah, so no previous experience. So for me, all my current that this job that I got was from cold application. I just saw this on LinkedIn. I researched about the company and I loved it. I read about their case studies. I read about the work that they have done. They are so well known within the loyalty space. And then so I applied, cold applied. And while I was waiting to hear back on my application, I even had a couple of coffee chats with people who were working in the same position within the company, just to understand what the company culture is, and how good is it for women. And that is not the surprising thing. There is such vast majority of women in this company that I felt so nice. And after I had my coffee chats, everybody just couldn't stop talking about the company culture. They love the company culture. They said it's so motivating. Everybody feels heard, and that was definitely a big check mark for me. If I was just waiting to hear back, but that was definitely something that I wanted to go ahead with. And so once I got a call back from the HR, I told them that I'm really interested. I have done my previous experience in this. I have so much of experience in customer growth, setting up targets, KPIs, helping clients build their own strategy, business growth plans. And then I think it was just a series of a very normal interview. You have your case studies, you meet the directors, you meet the senior director, you meet the HR, all of that. But I think one thing that I really did for myself was knowing that I do not have so much of loyalty experience. I did my research. I read through so many articles on loyalty. I read through about the Canadian loyalty space. I I read through what's happening with the other brands, where there is areas of opportunity, where I can tell them, where I can bring across my thought leadership. So you have to do your research, and just be very prepared for the interviews. I mean, don't feel scared. You can always ask the HR what the next interview is going to be about, just so that I can prepare myself, and that's fine. Some people will tell you, some people will say, no, I'm sorry, I can't share that, and that's okay. But I think it's always good to ask, so you know what to expect and you can prepare for it, for the next interview.
I think that's a great point, because the HR is there to help you get the job.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't take that into consideration. So you
Yeah,
can
I think
always ask.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be scared of. The most what will happen is that they'll say, no, we can't share that. And that's okay. Thank you for letting me know. I mean, ask questions. As a consultant, always ask questions.
Yeah, that's true. And you said that you got this job through cold application. So that must mean that your resume was pretty solid. So yeah, can you share some tips on resume building? What was it that you highlighted in your resume? And like, you had no previous experience. So if you had to build your resume again, would you change anything?
So I took 6 months to build my resume. It was a very iterative process. I remember I started creating my resume 6 months before I thought of applying for a job. And I took advantage of the CDC that we have back in Schulich just to get that first round of review done. After they did the review, I reached out to so many people on coffee chat. Some people were very sweet and they agreed to read through my resume. So I used to send my resume to them, and then they used to provide their inputs, their feedback, and I used to make changes. So this entire process took me 6 months. That being said, maybe it was just a bit too long, because the more you ask, the more feedback you're gonna get, and then you have to make more changes. So be very intentional with that. I would say 6 months was a stretch. Maybe I was just running in a loop by that time. But I would say you need around 3 months to properly decide on a resume structure and what you want to put in, and make sure you get some industry experts to go through your resume and to provide your feedback beyond the CDC. I think CDC does a great job, and you definitely should use them. But beyond that, I would obviously say, reach out to other people and ask if they would be interested in reviewing the resume. Not everybody's going to say yes, and that's okay. Some out of, there 1 person out of 20 people is going to say yes, and I think that's more than enough. But that also means that just don't walk up during your first coffee chat and be like, I want a job and can you read my resume? I mean, build that relationship. Read the person who's sitting across you. If you think they are going to say yes, ask. If you think that you are not getting that kind of collaboration from them, maybe just don't ask it. You have to be very conscious about that thing. And the next thing is just finding keywords from the jobs I was applying. Understand what the keywords are, understand what are those transferable skills that are going to make sense for this job, and highlight that in your resume. I think more or less, I didn't mold my resume too much for every job, but sometimes I did have to. So I mean, you just have to go through that review process before you even apply it, even if you do a cold application.
And that's a consistent theme I've been hearing across. Like
Yeah.
everyone says that the higher the number of eyes that take a look at your resume, the better your resume gets. So it's an iterative process. It takes time, but be open to feedback. Don't think that no, I'll not share my resume with this person and that person. Share it with everyone and get feedback.
Oh yes, please. There's nothing. I mean, you don't have to be secretive about your resume. It's not. It's not the contract or something. It's not your pay range. Definitely, the more feedback you get, the better. But obviously, you don't want to be asking 20, 30 people for feedback. You're just gonna get confused. So again, be very purposeful with whom you are asking. And does it make sense to ask them?
And then as a follow-up question with kind of specifically to your job, which is a brand and loyalty consultant, what are some of the keywords which applicants should include in their resume and the transferable skills?
Oh my God, keywords. I honestly don't remember the keywords. I would say just go through the job description when it comes up. For a consultant in general, the usual keywords are always strategic thinker, critical thinker, presentation skills, stakeholder management, team building experience, mentorship if you have that much of experience that you have mentored anybody, number crunching, data analysis. I mean, it really depends on what your experience has been. Don't just write. I mean, don't lie on your resume. That's the one thing I
Yeah.
always say. Don't never lie on your resume. Um, Building stories and lying is very different. So just keep that. Just be careful about that. But yeah, I think those are the keywords, and then those are very generic across any consulting position.
Yeah, and would you say build it as per the STAR methodology, the slash star slash car methodology, highlight your results? Any tips around that?
Yeah, I would say it's good if you can show numbers like how much I helped increase the revenue by 95% or whatever that might be. It's good to use numbers, but then there will always be some activities or responsibilities you have had where there would not be any numbers. So it's fine. I mean, I don't mean to repeat myself, but it just be very purposeful with every sentence and you put you in your resume and why have you put there. I mean, why would the recruiter or the hiring manager be interested in knowing that yeah, Shreya Gupta knows how to do SQL? I mean, why would that make sense for that job? Do not just write it because you did it. You should know why you're writing, what you're writing, and for whom you're writing.
That's so true. Because people just write. I have seen resumes where people say I participated in some debate competition in high school.
Yeah,
So don't go as far as that.
exactly.
And I mean, it's fine if you participated, but how will that help your current employer or your future employer? You have that in
Exactly.
mind.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So like once you have your resume, the next step you mentioned was the case interview. So the case
Mhm.
interview, how did you prepare for that? And what resources did you use for it?
So for case interviews, I did use the resources that CDC had. Plus, I was a member of the Schulich Case Analysis Club. So we had our case analysis book. Um, so I did use that also. Plus, there's a Kevin Chung case book, which is good for practice. So there are a lot of materials available outside. I mean, honestly, I don't think materials is an issue. I think what's really important is practice. It takes a lot of practice to go through case interviews. And it doesn't matter if you have been a consultant for 10 years, you would still want to practice because you obviously you wouldn't have been practicing case interviews the way interviews are done. You would know how to do discussions as part of cases, but interviews, obviously, you would not have practice. So I think practice is really important. The second thing is always practice in pairs. So, for example, if Raghav, you and I are practicing for a case interview, I can be the interviewer, you can be the interviewee, and I ask you questions, and then you probe and you ask me further questions, and I give you answers. So I think that practice is really important. Um, and I think that really helps. And then you can always switch. And then I can be the interviewee, you be the interviewer. So, you both are practicing the same thing. I think that's really important. That takes time. So honestly, you want to start practicing case interviews around 6 months before your actual job hunt, so that you're in a good rhythm. And I think that's it. I think practice is the most important thing with case interviews. It's no rocket science. It's not difficult. It's just how you should know when to make assumptions, when to ask more questions, and it's just a speed. You have to be very quick with it.
I think the very important tip you gave over here is practicing in pairs. That helps because when you are actually facing the interview, you know from you're thinking from the interviewer's perspective as well. So you know where
Yeah.
you are going wrong and how you should answer. So because you've done that in your practice, you can crack the interview. There is a higher chance. Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. And like any tips on networking? I know you got the current job through a cold application, but you must have, reached out to different people. Or like you remember, I'm sorry, I remember you saying that you reached out to multiple people once you sent your application. So there could be a possibility that someone was impressed and reached out to the HR and recommended you.
I don't think that happens, otherwise I would have got to know about it.
Anyway,
But
but yeah, apart from that.
but yeah, honestly, all the jobs or all the interviews that I got was cold application. So maybe I used my resume pretty well. But I know my friends who for whom networking really works. So I would say it's a pretty 50-50 mix. Definitely network, but don't discount cold applications. Also, sometimes you see some job which has been online. Sometimes you see some job and somebody who you are trying to network with isn't replying. And that's fine. I mean, you don't have to hold for that person. You can always still apply and then later have the coffee chat. I mean, don't miss out on an opportunity because of that. But with networking, the only thing that personally, when now people network with me, puts me off is if it's just the first coffee chat and people abruptly just say that I want a job or will you refer me? I mean, I have no idea about your skills. I do not know what your caliber is. I have no idea how hardworking of a person you are. I mean, I don't think it's fair to ask for a referral because if somebody is referring you, they are putting their
Neck on the line.
yeah, they are putting their neck on the line, right? So they have to be really convinced that you're going to do a good job, and that credibility needs to be there. So I would say build relationships before you ask for a job and be very genuine. Um, if you are if you are networking or you're having the first coffee chat, genuinely ask for a referral, let them know. Don't try to beat around the bush. And, people aren't stupid. They get to know if you're trying to ask for a referral. So maybe just be very upfront with it. The worst that will happen is that they'll say no, and that's okay. But don't lead on unnecessarily. And the other I would say will be start networking a little bit early because it takes time. You ideally want to have 2, 3 coffee chats with somebody before you ask them for a job or you ask them for a referral when the actual posting will come out. So I would say just start a little bit early, doesn't hurt. It's just like how we are chit chatting right now.
Yeah.
And somebody who's experienced, they'll always tell you something to learn. So I mean, there's nothing to lose from those coffee chats.
Yeah, that's right. Like you said, you gave an example of what puts you off, like people asking you for a job in the first coffee chat.
Yeah.
But like, can you give an example of someone like you remember who did it really well? Like, what did they ask during the first coffee chat, and how did that person build that relationship? If you could give an example, that would be very beneficial to the listeners.
So so one person who did it really well, and that's how even I used to do was when I used to send an invite for a coffee chat, I used to tell them that this is the role I saw, this is the role that I'm wanting to apply for, and that is why I want to have this coffee chat with you because I want to talk more about the role and the culture about the company. So they exactly know that at the end of the call, my expectation is that I'm going to ask you for this. The first thing is that. The second thing is it's a numbers game. So maybe if you send the same message to 10 people, 2 people will reply. And once those two people will reply, I always tell them, send them your resume in advance so they can read through it and they can give you proper guidance. I think that's always good. So maybe just ask them that thank you for replying. If you don't mind, I would like to share my resume in advance so that you can probably provide your feedback as well on my resume. And if you feel that I am going to be a good fit for this role, I think that's a good way to keep it very open ended. The third thing is sometimes people just themselves say that, you know what, I really like your resume. I think you're going to be a perfect fit. I can refer you. If that doesn't happen, it's fine to ask that, do you think you would be able to refer me to for this job? And it's okay if you don't feel comfortable. That's totally fine. Here it's okay because you already told them initially that you were thinking of applying for this job. You shared your resume, so now they are expecting that you're going to ask for a referral. It's not that you're just suddenly bringing it up during a call. And I think that flow that's really important to just let the person know what your expectation is.
Yeah. So I think that's an important tip, setting the expectations well before you have that call. Because like you said earlier, if you don't have the expectation set, then you'll have to take that judgment call whether this person will be ready to view my
Exactly.
resume or not.
Yeah.
But if that person has accepted your request, it's better to send it in advance,
Yeah.
so that, I mean, even if the person is not willing to look at it, they'll just say, okay, I didn't look through your resume, but maybe if the conversation goes well, they'll take a look at it later, or they'll
Yeah.
just straight up tell you that no,
Yeah.
I don't think you are a good fit. So,
Yeah. And I
so
would say always come prepared for these coffee chats. I mean, I have had people who have just come on a coffee chat and they're like, I really like the job. Why do you like the job? Oh, it seems nice. What about it seems nice? Oh, the company seems nice. And I really want a job. I mean, everybody wants a job, yes. I mean, that is why they're doing their MBA. But why this job? I mean, why should I put my neck on the line for you? So I mean, just be intentional with why you're applying. Be prepared. I think I'm just gonna keep saying this line the entire day,
uh,
but um, come prepared. Know why you're applying to the job, why this company, and also be prepared with some questions you wanna ask them. I think that just shows that you really want the job and you're really interested rather than just trying to get any job possible.
those are fabulous tips, and I think you cannot put that. You cannot stress that point enough. Be prepared.
Oh
It's
my
better to
God,
be
yeah.
over prepared.
I think that should be the headline of this podcast. Be intentional.
Be intentional and be prepared. But yeah, talking about your current job now, what is it that you do as a brand and loyalty consultant? What are your job responsibilities?
So, as part of my current job, we help clients understand, um, we help them design or redesign their loyalty programs, but that goes beyond just a loyalty program, really understanding who your best customers are, how to retain them, how to grow your customer base. And everything we do is embedded into neuroscience behavior principles. So why customers behave the way customers behave, there's just so much science behind it. And Raghav, you would have seen all of that during MBA. I mean, why Starbucks has three sizes? Why do the brands pay extra to have their products put on the middle shelf in the grocery store? So I mean, there's just so much of human science behind it, and everything we do is built on what does the customer want, what does the brand want, what is going to be operationally feasible for them, and obviously what is going to be financially incremental for them. So these four are our major pillars that we do, and obviously there's a lot of work that goes beneath that, but just a high level.
Yeah, but I mean, if we drill down on that, could you give us an example? Like you said earlier, customers in Asia behave very differently from customers in North America. So
Yeah.
how are they different? Is it just the differences due to the culture, or is it something related to with the psychology, the neuroscience behavior, as you mentioned earlier? Why do you think that is?
I think there are a lot of factors. I think market plays a very big factor. The population plays a very big factor. The spending power plays a very big factor. The culture plays a very big factor. I've been working with clients in China. I've been working with clients in US, Europe, Canada, and everybody. There are different expectations everybody has. I mean, if Europe, you see, it's so forward with sustainability. China, if you see, or Asia in general, they are still lagging behind when we think about sustainability. Sustainability is not their prime focus as of now. They are still very headset on discounts, getting more value for their money. When we think about North America, sustainability seems to be growing. Obviously, we are not yet as a mature market as Europe, but it's still a very upcoming culture within North America. So, I mean, a lot of things play a lot of factor. I would say the laws and the socioeconomic factors are also very big. So there are a lot of things to consider.
Right. And like, could you give us an example? Like you were saying earlier, why does Starbucks has three sizes, or why do company pay for the middle shelf? So with an example, if you could, and the reason behind it, if you could explain that, so that would be very beneficial for the listeners, so that they get a taste of what they are getting into when they think about becoming a brand and a loyalty consultant.
Yeah. So the I forget what the name of the law is, but with Starbucks, what basically they try to do is they try to put this grande size in between, so that when you're always comparing, you would see the grande as something that you're getting more value from as a tall, but you're not spending so much that you're getting a venti cup, and that is very strategic as to why they have put in a grande size in between, so that people feel that, oh, I'm not spending so much that I'm getting a venti, but I'm still paying very less, and you'll see the delta between the prices between the venti and the grande, and the grande and the tall and the grande, and the grande and the venti isn't the same. And that is the reason why people say that, oh, I just have to spend a little bit, but I'll get a bigger size, and I'm not spending so much that I need to get a venti size. So they expect that people will never, not as many people would buy a venti size, but that's just to fool people who, I wouldn't say fool, but trick people who wanted to buy a venti size, but now they just want to spend a little bit more and they are opting for the grande size. And you can look it up. I don't know. I forget what the name of this is, but this is a very a psychological reason as to why customers behave this way. The other is the why more and more brands are putting in the reviews and the rating feature on their platform, and that's again which we call social proofing. So there's more credibility to things when I see, oh, Raghav has also bought this product, oh, my other friend has also bought this product. So the more reviews a product gets, you tend to the tendency of you buying that product is again going to be very higher, which again is going back to neuro principle of social proof. So there are some principles behind the reason why brands very strategically put some things on their interface.
Those are, deep insights, and as you say, they cleverly want to sell you the grande. It's not like they are
Yeah,
trying to sell you the venti. So their aim is to sell you that, and for that they use different strategies.
yeah.
And people like you help design that strategy. So that's very, very interesting work. Yeah. Now, on that note, I mean, I would like to ask you, you said earlier that you always wanted to do your higher education from a foreign country and come here and live. So you must have had certain expectations before coming here. So how different was reality from your expectations?
I I think my I think it worked out pretty well. I mean, I wanted to get into marketing. I got into marketing. I did not I wasn't expecting I'll get into this role, but I mean, this role has been everything that I wanted. Everybody who knows me knows that I brag about the company and the work that I do a lot because I just love it. But I think more or less the expectations I had with how Canada and how everything is going to turn out is the way it is. The only, I would say, road bump that we had was COVID. We did not expect that our classes are going to be online. We didn't
And
expect,
nobody expected that.
yeah. I mean, that was the only road bump I would say. But other than that, I feel everything worked out pretty well. Even with that road bump, I think it worked out because I was able to work as a part-time strategy consultant, which I don't think would have been possible if I was going to class every day. So I mean, everything has its pros and cons. Yes, I did not sit in the class and do in-person classes, but I made money. So I mean, it's fine.
That is all very true. Would you change anything? Like anyone who listening to this, you think that they should know something which I did not ask, and they should know this before thinking about coming to Canada, pursuing their MBA or higher education in general? Anything I missed out on?
I would say, some of the things is doing a bit of a market research to understand what are the job opportunities here and what would make sense for you. Now I understand most of the people, and even I was the same way when I did my MBA. I knew I wanted to get into marketing, but I did not exactly know what I wanted to do.
True.
I think doing a bit more of that research while I was still in my first year of MBA, I think that's always good. I wouldn't say that was a roadblocker or something, but it's just that you're much better informed when you enter your year two and you start applying for jobs. I think it just takes off a little bit of pressure. I think networking, I could have started networking in first year. I think we were too busy back in India. But ideally, I would say networking is something that you should start when you're in the middle of your year one tenure. That is a sweet spot to start networking. Um, and yeah, I think those are the two things that always come to my mind.
Any courses you recommend? Like, do these courses for sure if you're coming to Schulich or doing your MBA and want to go into marketing.
Oh
You
my God,
should not miss out
absolutely.
on these courses. Yeah, please.
I would definitely recommend case competition, not case competition, case analysis. I would recommend brand strategy. I think everybody, brand management, I think everybody knows that. I would recommend marketing metrics. Maybe people who have been in the marketing field, they might not see the value in that project, in that course. But for somebody who wasn't from a marketing background, that course was really helpful in understanding what does a marketing analyst or marketing manager does, what are the different metrics or KPIs you look at. So these three courses, I think, were definitely very helpful.
Customer centricity, you forgot that.
Oh, customer center. Oh, that was a project. But yeah, customer centricity. I would, if this is something that interests you, like talking to customers and doing those in-depth interviews, doing um, building business plans based on customers' expectations and customer objectives, I think then customer centricity is a very good course to take. And 601, but I think everybody has to take it. So
That's mandatory. So
yeah.
you can't escape. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts, I would say for anybody who's starting your MBA or who's still in the middle of the MBA, I mean, just enjoy it. Trust me, you're going to miss this time so much after you're done with your MBA. And everybody gets jobs. I mean, I know when you're in your second year, that's all you can think about. And being an immigrant, you just have that, financial pressure as well. But I would say just believe in yourself. Know that you have made it so far. You are in Schulich, so you are the best of the best. You are going to get a job sooner or later, and the job market is doing pretty well right now. I mean, during our time, it wasn't doing that well, and we still everybody, I think, after latest by 3 months after
Yeah.
graduation, I think everybody had jobs. So if we got jobs after 3 months, I mean, you guys can definitely get jobs even before graduating. So just believe in
3 months
yourself.
before graduation.
Yeah. So I would say just believe in yourself and reach out if you have any concerns, any questions. I'm happy to help anybody. If you think the work that I do with Bond Brand Loyalty, if it interests you, let me know. Happy to talk more about it. If you want to reach out to other of my friends and you see me as a common contact on LinkedIn, just let me know and I'll get you in touch. There are a lot of people who are out there to help. Trust me, when I was networking, I think I got a lot of responses. So there are good people, there are people who want to help you. It's just a little bit of a numbers game. You will get disappointment, but that's fine. Everybody's gone through it. You're not the only one. And just believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's very kind of you. So I will put your LinkedIn profile in the
Absolutely.
description section.
Yeah.
And so pleasure speaking to you. I think you sound like Kareena Kapoor, but I don't know if I'm right. So if the
No, I
listeners
think you're right.
think,
I think you're right.
if the listeners agree, please tell us in the comment section.
Oh, that's so
Please
sweet.
like, comment, and subscribe to the Harne
And share.
podcast. And share, of course, share it with your friends, share it with anybody you think might benefit from it. Thank you so much, Shreya, for doing this. It was a pleasure. And I hope you'll come back again for another
Definitely,
episode.
Raghav. And thank you so much for starting the series. I think if we had this series when we were doing our MBA, it would have been so much helpful. So thank you so much for taking this initiative and happy to help whenever I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank
Right. Have
you.
a good day.
Bye. You too.
Bye.
Bye.